You think you're chasing pleasure, but pleasure is chasing you, hijacking your body, looping your mind, and calling it freedom. We worship comfort, but forget the cost. Because pleasure without context is just programming. If you've ever watched 5 episodes and felt emptier after, if you've ever scrolled for hours and still felt restless, you already know this trap. You're in it. You don't reach for your phone because you want to. You do it because it's been ritualized for you. Each swipe is a cue, each hit of dopamine, a pixelated god. You are being rewired, not by pain, but by pleasure. We think of pleasure as liberation, but real addiction doesn't look like chains. It looks like freedom, with no exit. So here's the question. What if you could make pleasure sacred again? What if every sensation became a spell? Let's go back. Before dopamine was a drug, before you were a consumer, ancient humans didn't binge. They fasted, feasted, and danced. They didn't consume content. They lit fires, beat drums, and burned offerings. They turned sensation into ritual. But today, your rituals have been hijacked. Not sorcerers in robes, but dopamine designers in Silicon Valley, ritual engineers, loop farmers, people paid to keep your joy just out of reach. Every scroll is a ritual gesture. Every binge is a synthetic trance. Neuroscience tells us, your brain doesn't wait for reality. It predicts it. You don't respond to the world. You respond to what your nervous system expects to feel. Dopamine doesn't reward pleasure. It rewards anticipation. So you chase the ghost forever. There are 2 traps you've been offered, 2 lies dressed as wisdom. First, hustle culture, the war cry of burnout, where pleasure is weakness, where if you rest, you rust. If you feel, you've failed. You've heard it. No pain, no gain. Sleep when you're dead. But hustle culture doesn't make warriors. It makes addicts of another kind. People so numb, they forget what joy even is. Then, the opposite trap. Comfort culture. But this isn't healing. It's sedation. Hustle numbs you through grind. Comfort numbs you through ease. Either way, you're sedated. The problem isn't pleasure. The problem is meaning. As Georges Bataille wrote, we don't crave comfort. We crave intensity. We are not gentle machines. We are mythic animals. Born for firelight, for blood rhythms, for ecstatic boundary crossing. Bataille saw what few were willing to admit. Pleasure isn't innocent. It's dangerous. Because it edges up against the sacred. Every real pleasure contains risk. Loss of control, loss of ego, sometimes even loss of sanity. The orgasm, the trance, the beat drop, the fight, the kiss. These are thresholds. Doors to the irrational. And modern life has stripped the doors of their frames. So now you fall into them. But you don't know why. You've been given endless access to pleasure. But no structure to contain it. No myth to elevate it. No initiation to earn it. And when there is no initiation, the gate remains open. And anything may enter. This is not freedom. It is infiltration. Your nervous system becomes a stage. For every wandering impulse to perform upon, you don't own your desire anymore. It shows up wearing your skin. But it doesn't ask your permission. Without ritual, there is no audience. Only echo. In the absence of sacred form, your body becomes a haunted site, possessed not by demons, but by feedback. The loop tightens. Each pleasure becomes a trigger for the next, and the next, and the next, until you forget the first taste. Neuroscience shows us that in these loops, the striatum, that ancient part of your brain, learns to predict patterns, not fulfillment. You feel not because you choose, but because you have been conditioned to anticipate the chemical ghost of joy. Prediction becomes craving. Craving becomes obedience. And obedience wears the mask of freedom, but beneath that mask, compulsion. Compulsion shaped like a scroll, a refresh, a click, a climax, all tied to nothing but repetition. You are not desiring. You are being desired through. This is the dark psychology of the trap. Desire that no longer belongs to you, but speaks through your body like a ventriloquist god. Its strings pulled by symbols you didn't choose. And the occult has always known this. Unanchored pleasure becomes possession. What you do not ritualize, you do not own. And what you do not own will one day wear your skin. This is not metaphor. It is neurochemical. Pleasure without meaning does not complete the circuit. It spills. It leaks. It frays the boundary between you and the world that consumes you. So you binge again. Not for joy, but to remember what joy once felt like. But there is a path back. And it does not begin with denial. It begins with shape, with story, with sacrament, with structure strong enough to hold the fire without burning the house down. Without a container, intensity becomes compulsion. It mutates into addiction, escapism, burnout, boredom. You weren't meant to flatten sensation. You were meant to ritualize it, to frame it, to charge it with meaning. That's what sacredness is. It's not morality. It's containment for power. Ancient cultures understood this. Pleasure was bound by rhythm, by contrast, by ritual. They fasted before feasts. They danced before collapse. They wept before they touched. Because they knew, without contrast, there is no fire. Without boundaries, there is no flood. Without ritual, there is no transformation. Only repetition. Modern neuroscience backs this up. When experiences are framed with intention and emotional novelty, your brain assigns them deeper meaning. They're tagged for memory. They reshape your self-image. But pleasure without structure leads to fragmentation. Without form, desire devours itself. What we do not ritualize, we pathologize. Look around. Isn't that what we've done? Unritualized pleasure becomes a kind of soul erosion. Not because pleasure is bad, but because it's powerful. Too powerful to handle raw. Endless novelty. No meaning. Infinite access. No integration. We seek transformation. But all we find is stimulation. Real transformation comes when pleasure has a beginning, a climax, and a close. When it has symbolism, rhythm, emotional weight. That's why sacred pleasure is never rushed. It builds. It simmers. It demands presence. So how do you begin to reclaim pleasure? You make it sacred again. That doesn't mean robes and candles. It means structure. Here's how. Frame it. Create a container. A time. A space. A signal that says, this is not random. Light a candle. Take a breath. Set intention. This tells your nervous system, pay attention. Earn it. Sacred pleasure isn't on demand. It's preceded by contrast. Effort, silence, emptiness. The absence creates the ache. Embody it. Don't multitask your joy. Don't scroll while you eat. Don't dissociate while you touch. Feel it fully. Savor it slowly. Anchor it in the body. Close it. End it cleanly. With silence, with breath, with reverence. Rituals without endings become loops. This isn't self-care. It's soul care. And your nervous system will recognize the difference. Because the truth is, desire is sacred fire. But uncontained, it burns. Consumerism leaks your fire. Ritual distills it. Occultists have called it carnal alchemy. The transformation of base instinct into symbolic will. You don't repress desire. You transmute it. You hold it in a crucible. You let it heat. You let it glow. And when you release it, it doesn't just feel good. It feels right, integrated, charged with meaning. Modern neuroscience supports this too. Reframing desire through symbolic structure reshapes the emotional impact. It breaks loops of compulsion and turns them into moments of agency. So here's the deeper question. Can we transmute our consumer desire into sacred erotic power? When desire has no structure, it devours. But when you give it ritual, it becomes luminous. It becomes creative. It becomes sovereign. You don't need less desire. You need containers strong enough to hold it. You need play. That becomes prayer. You need rhythm, tension, initiation, release. And this isn't abstract. This is embodied neurochemistry. Contrast sharpens pleasure. Framing deepens memory. Meaning extends reward. Ritual is the user interface of the nervous system. It is erotic. It is dangerous. It is sacred. But when play becomes pure consumption, you don't grow. You regress. You become a spectator of your own life. But when play becomes symbolic, when it becomes rhythmic and embodied and meaningful, then it becomes ritual. It becomes a portal to transformation. So let's reclaim it. Let's make pleasure sacred again. Let's remember, ritual isn't superstition. It's neurology with symbolism. It's psychology with soul. You don't have to become a monk. You just have to stop treating pleasure like trash. It's about presence, power, and pattern. If something in you stirred tonight, not just the nerves, but the deeper current. If you felt the shape of something sacred returning, etched in the ache behind the pleasure, then don't let it vanish unspoken. Mark the moment. Name the ritual. Carve a sigil into the dark. If you made it this far, you're not like most people. You don't want numbness. You want meaning. So speak it. Not as comment, but as invocation. We are building a chamber for the mythic to return. And your voice is part of the spell. Until next time, guard the fire. Feed it wisely, and never bow to a pleasure that asks nothing of you. If this video shifted something in your mind, you're ready for the next level. Download my free ritual guide in the description. No catch, just pure psychological alchemy you can use tonight. If you want to go deeper, hit the initiation playlist. It's your step-by-step journey into breaking unconscious patterns and mastering your own mind. Both links are waiting below. Your transformation starts now.